أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Lesson number 90, Surah Al-Araf. We'll begin from ayah 40. إِنَّ الَّذِينَ كَذَّبُوا بِآيَاتِنَا وَاسْتَكْبَرُوا عَنْهَا. Indeed, those people who deny our verses and they are arrogant toward them. What's going to happen to them? What's going to be their end? لَا تُفَتَّحُ لَهُمْ أَبْوَابُ السَّمَاءِ. The gates of heaven will not be open for them. وَلَا يَدْخُلُونَ الْجَنَّةَ. Nor will they enter paradise. حَتَّى يَلِجَ الْجَمَلُ فِي سَمِّ الْخِيَاطِ. Until a camel enters into the eye of a needle. وَكَذَلِكَ نَجْزِي الْمُجْرِمِينَ. And thus do we recompense the criminals. Over here, the consequence of those people who deny the ayat of Allah, who are arrogant toward the ayat of Allah, their end is mentioned. That those people who كَذَّبُوا بِآيَاتِنَا. Ayat, as you know, are kawni as well as shari'i. So they deny the ayat. What does it mean by denying the kawni ayat? That the signs that are in the universe that prove Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's existence and His lordship, these people, they see them. They recognize them. Yet they deny Allah. Yet they don't believe in Him. Yet they refuse to accept to acknowledge His existence, His lordship, His supremacy. So they deny the kawni ayat. Similarly, they also deny the shari'i ayat. And what are the shari'i ayat? Whether it is the verses of Allah's book, it is the commands, the ahkam, or it is the miracles that the messengers showed. So those people who deny the ayat of Allah, secondly, وَاسْتَكْبَرُوا عَنْهَا. And they're arrogant against them. They're arrogant towards them. Istakbaru, istikbar, to become arrogant, to show arrogance. And what is kibr? It is batarul haq, to deny the truth, to refuse to accept the truth. وَغَمْطُ النَّاسِ. And it is to belittle people. That is what kibr is. And this is generally when a person considers himself to be superior, to be greater. That he sees what the truth is, he recognizes what it is, but he refuses to accept it because he thinks that if he's going to accept it, it's going to make him smaller in some way. It's going to reduce his status. It's going to reduce his honor in some way. Therefore, he rejects the truth even if he realizes it. وَغَمْطُ النَّاسِ. And it is to belittle people, to consider them to be less. This is what kibr is. So kibr is basically to deny the truth after recognizing it. To refuse to accept it after knowing it. So وَاسْتَكْبَرُوا عَنْهَا. They were arrogant toward the ayat of Allah. What does it mean by that? They were arrogant towards them. Meaning, they did not believe in them. This was their arrogance towards the ayat of Allah. They refused to accept them. They refused to believe in them. Instead, they looked down upon them. They made fun of them. They considered them to be insignificant. They rejected them. They did not give any importance to the ayat of Allah. Instead of preferring the ayat of Allah, what did they prefer? Their own logic, their own intellect, or other ideologies. وَاسْتَكْبَرُوا عَنْهَا. They were arrogant toward the ayat of Allah. So what's the consequence of these mutakabbirin, of these mukaddibin? That لَا تُفَتَّحُ. It is not going to be opened. تُفَتَّحُ from fataha. Fataha is to open. لَا تُفَتَّحُ. It will not be opened. Lahum, for them. What's not going to be open for them? Abwab as-sama. Abwab is the plural of bab. The doors of the sky are not going to open for them. As we know from several ahadith and also from the Quran, that there are 7 samawat. Sab'a samawat. There are 7 heavens. 7 samawat. And on each sama is a bab, is a gate, a door, which when one goes through it, he enters into the second sama. And when he goes through that door, he goes into the third sama. Until eventually all the samawat are crossed. Now, when we look at the sky, we just see a plain blue sky, white sky without any crack. And we can't even imagine a door, a gate in the sky. However, this gate or these doors of the sky, they are a reality. And believing in them is a part of believing in the unseen. Believing in them is a part of believing in the unseen. Why? Because they are mentioned so many times in the Quran as well as in the ahadith. So the doors of the sky are not going to be open for them. وَلَا يَدْخُلُونَ الْجَنَّةِ, nor are such people going to enter Jannah. Until when? حَتَّى يَلِجَ الْجَمَلُ فِي سَمِّ الْخِيَاطِ, until a camel passes through the eye of the needle. The word yalija is from the root letters waw, lam, jim, wuluj. And wuluj is to enter into a tight place, into a narrow place. Al-jamal. And what does jamal mean? Camel. So until the camel enters and passes through fi sammil khiyat, in the eye, in the hole of the needle. The word sam is from the root letter sin, mim, mim, and it's used for the hole in something, and in particular when it's used for the hole of the needle, it's the eye of the needle. And khiyat is from the root letters kha, ya, ta. Khiyat is needle. From the same root, the word khayyat is used for a tailor. And khayt is, what is khayt? Thread. Khaytul abyad. Remember? Min al-khayt al-aswad. Min al-fajr. So until the camel passes through the eye of the needle. Now, can that ever happen? Can that ever happen? If you've ever tried to pass a thread even through the eye of the needle, I'm sure at your first attempt, many of you failed. It happens with many people. It's extremely difficult to get the thread into the eye. You have to look extremely carefully, and the thread has to be very fine, and if there are any fibers that are not twined properly, then what happens? It prevents the thread from entering into the eye properly. Now over here, by saying this, حَتَّى يَلِجَ الْجَمَلُ فِي سَمِّ الْخِيَاطِ, this is something that is impossible. This is something that is impossible. And this is known as ta'liq bil mahal. It is when the occurrence of something is made conditional with something that is impossible. That this will only occur when such and such impossible thing happens. What does it mean? This impossible thing is never going to happen. Therefore, what I'm saying is also never going to happen. So what's the objective of mentioning this? What's the purpose of mentioning this expression, this idiom? That never are they going to be admitted into the sama, and never are they going to be admitted into Jannah. Their entrance into Jannah is impossible. It's impossible. No one can do anything to get them into Jannah. It's impossible. No one can do anything to have the doors of the samawat open for them. No one can do anything. It's never going to be open. It's impossible. It's as unlikely as the camel entering into the eye of the needle. Now notice over here it has been said that the doors of the sama are never going to be open for them. What does it mean by this? We learn that such people who are arrogant towards the ayat of Allah, who deny the ayat of Allah, they will be deprived of the honor that is given to the people of Iman. They will be deprived of the honor that is given to who? The people of Iman. This part of the ayah has been interpreted in three ways. First of all, it is said that the doors of the heavens, they will not be opened for their souls. They will not be opened for their souls. When a person dies, his soul is taken from his body. And then, where is it taken? It is taken up to the samawat. If it is a believer, then the soul is allowed to enter. And if the soul is of such a person, it is not allowed to enter, and instead it is thrown back to the ground. So this is what is being mentioned. Ibn Abbas radhiyallahu anhu said, because the souls of the disbelievers are impure, their souls will not be taken up to the heavens. Rather, they will be thrown down into the sijjeen. They will be thrown down. And there's a long hadith part of which I mentioned to you earlier, in which the death is mentioned of people, that how at the time of death, if the soul is good, the way that the soul is taken out; if a person is evil, the way his soul is taken out. In continuation of that hadith, it is said, the Prophet ﷺ said, the angels ascend with the soul. With whose soul? With the believer's soul, after taking it from the body. And as they pass by gatherings of angels, they ask them, who is this good soul? They reply, he is so-and-so, son of so-and-so, using the best names with which he had been addressed in the first life. When they reach the lowest heaven, they request admission, and the gates open for them. The most elite angels from each heaven escort him to the next one, until he reaches the seventh heaven. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then says, write my servant's record that he will be in Illiyun. And Illiyin are mentioned in the Quran. Thus his record is inscribed in Illiyun. And the angels are told, take him back to the earth because I promised them. Meaning, it is destined for them that that is where they will be. So therefore, take him back to the earth because I promised them, meaning the human beings. That مِنْهَا خَلَقْنَاكُمْ وَفِيهَا نُعِيدُكُمْ وَمِنْهَا نُخْرِجُكُمْ تَارَةً أُخْرَى. So he is then returned to the earth, and his soul is restored into his body. And indeed, he then hears the thumping of his companions' shoes as they walk away from him, meaning from the grave. And when the soul is entered into the grave, then what happens? The angels come to take the hisab as well, to ask those three very important questions. On the other hand, what happens to the impure soul? When the angels take the soul out of the body, then what happens? The angels then ascend with it. And as they pass by gatherings of angels, they ask them, who is this malicious soul? They respond, so-and-so, son of so-and-so, using the worst names with which he had been addressed in the first life. Like for example, Abu Jahl. What does Abu Jahl mean? Father of ignorance. You know what he was actually called in the dunya before? Abul Hakam, father of wisdom. But when he opposed the Prophet ﷺ, he was famous as who? Abu Jahl. Until today he is known as who? Abu Jahl, a mushrik. So, they respond, so-and-so, son of so-and-so, and they use the worst names with which he had been addressed in the first life. When they reach the lowest heaven, they request admission, but the gates are not open for them. Why? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said over here that لَا تُفَتَّحُ لَهُمْ أَبْوَابُ السَّمَاءِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then says that write his record in Sijjeen, in the lowest earth. And they are told, take him back to earth because I promised them. مِنْهَا خَلَقْنَاكُمْ وَفِيهَا نُعِيدُكُمْ وَمِنْهَا نُخْرِجُكُمْ تَارَةً أُخْرَى. His soul is then cast down from the heavens without regard. Just imagine, it is thrown down from the heavens. Thrown down without any regard. And it falls into his body. As for the one who joins partners with Allah, the mushrik, it is as if he plunges down from the skies, whereupon birds snatch him off, or the wind casts him away to a place far removed from Allah's mercy. His soul is restored to his body, so that indeed he hears a thumping of his companions' shoes as they walk away from him. And there are other narrations as well, in which basically it is clearly mentioned that when the believer, when his soul is taken, it is taken up to the heavens, it is allowed to enter from one heaven to the next. And why is that done? To honor the soul of the believer. That how the most elite angels, they escort him to the next heaven, to the next heaven, to the next heaven, until eventually Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that write his name in the Illiyun. And on the other hand, the disbeliever, the impure person, what happens to him? The doors of the sky are not open for him. لَا تُفَتَّحُ لَهُمْ أَبْوَابُ السَّمَاءِ. And instead, his soul is thrown down from the heavens onto the earth. Utter humiliation, utter debasement. They did istikbar in this dunya. On that day, they will be utterly humiliated. So this is the first way of interpreting this part of the ayah. Secondly, it is said that what it means by لَا تُفَتَّحُ لَهُمْ أَبْوَابُ السَّمَاءِ is that their dua will not be accepted. Their supplication is not accepted. The Prophet ﷺ, mentioned a man having journeyed far, meaning he had traveled far away. And he is dusty, disheveled, and he spreads out his hands to the sky saying, "O Lord, O Lord." While his food is haram, his drink is haram, his clothing is haram, and his nourishment is haram. So how can his dua be answered? Similarly, such people who deny the ayat of Allah, they're arrogant toward the ayat, for them as well, their dua is not accepted. Because when a person makes a dua, what happens? It is ascended up to the heavens. So as their dua is ascended up to the heavens, the gates of the heaven don't open. It's rejected. It's refused. It's like, for example, a person sends an application somewhere, and before it even gets to the one who's going to look at the application, it is rejected from before. You know, sometimes people apply for a job or for admission into a university, and if the application is too late, or you're not eligible, then what happens? It is filtered right at the beginning. It's rejected right at the beginning. It's not even allowed to go through. This is exactly what's going to happen to their supplications. Similarly, praying salah is a type of dua. So their salah is not accepted. Thirdly, it is said that what it means by لا تفتح لهم أبواب السماء is that their righteous deeds will not be accepted. Why? Because they did not have iman. Therefore, whatever good they perform, whether it is charity, or it is being good towards parents, or it is looking after the poor and the needy, smiling at other people, fulfilling promises, such good deeds are not accepted. Why? Because of lack of iman. Because of lack of iman. Because when a person does something good, that good deed is actually ascended up to the heavens. We learn in Surah Fatir, ayah number 10, إِلَيْهِ يَصْعَدُ الْكَلِمُ الطَّيِّبُ وَالْعَمَلُ الصَّالِحُ يَرْفَعُهُ. To him ascends good speech, and righteous work raises it. So good words that a person utters, what ascends it? What raises it up to the sama? It's the good deeds. So yes, they may be doing a lot of good deeds, but because they don't have iman, when their good deeds are taken up to the heavens, they're not accepted. The doors are not open for them. They're not accepted at all. لا تفتح لهم أبواب السماء ولا يدخلون الجنة. Similarly, such people, they will never enter Jannah. So in this dunya, what happens? The door of the sama is not open for them. And in the hereafter, they will not be allowed to enter Jannah. Whereas for the believers, we learn that the gates of Jannah will be open for them from before. It's like when you enter into a place and there are automatic sliding doors, before you reach, the door is already open. And sometimes what happens? You reach the door and the door doesn't open. How do you feel? How do you feel? Insulted. And you feel embarrassed that what just happened? The door just shut in my face. Even though it was just a mistake, but you feel embarrassed. Similarly, for such people, they will not be allowed to enter Jannah, but for the believers, the gates of Jannah will be opened. In Surah Sad, ayah 50 and 51, we learn, مُفَتَّحَةً لَهُمُ الْأَبْوَابِ, whose doors will be open to them. To who? To the believers. مُتَّكِئِينَ فِيهَا يَدْعُونَ فِيهَا بِفَاكِهَةٍ كَثِيرَةٍ وَشَرَابٍ. Reclining within them, they will call therein for abundant fruit and drink. They will enter Jannah. But such people, they will not be allowed to enter Jannah. حَتَّى يَلِجَ الْجَمَلُ فِي سَمِّ الْخِيَاطِ. And Allah says, وَكَذَلِكَ نَجْزِي الْمُجْرِمِينَ. And thus do we recompense who? The criminals. Meaning such is the recompense of criminals. What crime did these people commit? Denying the ayat of Allah. Being arrogant towards the ayat of Allah. So other criminals will also be recompensed in the same way. Other criminals will also be recompensed in the same way. So what does this ayah teach us? What's the main lesson in this ayah for us? What have you learned? Warning against arrogance towards the ayat of Allah. And what is arrogance towards the ayat of Allah? That a person finds out, a person gets to know what the hukm of Allah is, but he says, no, I'm not going to do it. This is what arrogance towards the ayat is. Because if he was humble, he would accept them. He's showing arrogance that no, I cannot accept this. I can never do this. Severe warning against arrogance towards the ayat of Allah. So for such people, when they will be rejected from the heavens, what's going to happen? لَهُم مِّن جَهَنَّمَ مِهَادٌ. Where will they end up? In the hellfire. And they will have from hell a mihad. Mihad is from the root letters mim, ha, dal, mahd. And mahd is a cradle or a bed. Basically, mihad is a place where one sleeps. A bed, like a bedspread, or bedding, sheet, mattress. Something that is placed under in order to sleep on. Whether it is a bed, or it is a mattress, or it is a sheet, or it is a rug, a mat, anything that a person puts under himself on which to sleep on. Sometimes you find people who are homeless sleeping on the streets. And what do they have under them? A blanket, or a jacket, or cardboard. This is what mihad is. So, what is their bed? What is going to be under them? لَهُم مِّن جَهَنَّمَ مِهَادٌ. For them in hellfire is going to be a mihad. وَمِن فَوْقِهِمْ غَوَاشٍ. And from above them are coverings. Ghawash is actually ghawashi. And it's the plural of the word ghashiyah. And what does ghashiyah mean? A covering. That which covers. So above them are many coverings. Many coverings of what? Of fire. Just like layers of blankets. You know how sometimes some people, they prefer to have a sheet and then a comforter and then another sheet on top? Layers and layers and layers. And if they get very hot, what do? They take one layer off. If they get more hot, they will take the blanket off. If they get more hot, they will take the sheet off as well. So لَهُم مِّن جَهَنَّمَ مِهَادٌ وَمِن فَوْقِهِمْ غَوَاشٍ. Beneath them is going to be a bed of fire, and on top of them are also going to be coverings of fire. So basically, fire is going to surround them. It's going to cover them from all sides. So that all that they can touch, all that they can feel, all that they can breathe and see is fire. You know, sometimes if you're sleeping in a very uncomfortable bed, at least you can look up. Yes, it's very uncomfortable from where you're lying down on, but at least you can look up. At least there's a lot of room to look at. At least perhaps there's a nice picture on the wall. Maybe you can talk to someone whom you like. Maybe you can listen to something. Maybe you can watch something that will please you. That will distract you for some time. And perhaps the pain of or the discomfort caused by sleeping in that uncomfortable bed will go away in a day or two. However, if you look at it, under them is fire and on top is also fire. So where is any refuge? Where is any escape? No escape at all. وَكَذَلِكَ نَجْزِي الظَّالِمِينَ. And likewise do we recompense the wrongdoers. And we learn in Surah Al-Baqarah that وَالْكَافِرُونَ هُمُ الظَّالِمُونَ. That it is the disbelievers who are in fact ظالمون. Such is a recompense for those who do dhulm. We learned earlier that shaitan comes to a person from all sides, except from above and below. Why? Because there is a connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and there's showing humility before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in sajda. But a person who never did that in the dunya, never showed humility, never established his connection with his Lord, rather he did takdeeb of the ayat of Allah, that for him there is fire from above and fire from below. Such that a person will be completely encircled in the hellfire. We learn in Surah At-Tawbah, ayah 49, وَإِنَّ جَهَنَّمَ لَمُحِيطَةٌ بِالْكَافِرِينَ. That indeed hellfire will encompass the disbelievers. It is going to fully encompass them. It is going to completely surround them from all sides. In Surah Az-Zumar, ayah number 16, we learn, لَهُم مِّن فَوْقِهِمْ ظُلَلٌ مِّنَ النَّارِ وَمِن تَحْتِهِمْ ظُلَلٌ. They will have canopies of fire above them, and also below them canopies of fire. Similarly, we learn elsewhere as well that إِنَّهَا عَلَيْهِمْ مُؤْصَدَةٌ فِي عَمَدٍ مُمَدَّدَةٍ. That indeed hellfire will be closed down upon them in extended columns. Just like an oven. That it's closed And whatever is in the oven is trapped. There's no place to breathe, nowhere to run. Similarly, such people will be trapped in the hellfire. And on the other hand, وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ, and those people who believe and do righteous good deeds. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, لَا نُكَلِّفُ نَفْسًا إِلَّا وُسْعَهَا. We charge no soul except within its capacity. So those people who believe and do righteous good deeds, what is their end going to be? أُولَٰئِكَ أَصْحَابُ الْجَنَّةِ هُمْ فِيهَا خَالِدُونَ. Such will be the inmates of Jannah, they will be the residents of paradise, and they will be in there forever, for eternity. Who? Those people who believe and do righteous deeds. Notice in the middle, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, لَا نُكَلِّفُ نَفْسًا إِلَّا وُسْعَهَا. What does nukallifu mean? From kaf, lam, fa. What does it mean? To impose something on someone. To make someone bear a burden. To make someone bear a responsibility. And the word wusr, waw, sin, ayn, what does wusr mean? Wusr is the ability, the stamina of a person. And basically, wusr is the capability of a person with which, or the stamina of a person with which he can do something easily in normal circumstances. He doesn't need to exert any extra effort. Like for example, if I tell you, can you cook in 45 minutes? You say, okay, I can. It is within my capacity. I can do it. But if I tell you, can you cook in 15 minutes? Is it within your capacity? No. Maybe you can, but you're running from one part of the kitchen to the other and you're struggling a lot, and by the time you're done, the whole kitchen is a mess. So it's not really within your ability. What's within your ability? To do it within 45 minutes to an hour. That's within your ability. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says over here that whatever commands that we have given, they're not beyond your ability. You don't have to exert extra effort. You don't have to exert extra effort. It's within your scope. It's not impossible. So what is required from each person is what is within his scope. What is within his ability for action. It is whatever he can do. For example, if a person is unable to do wudu because of illness, is he still forced to do wudu? No. What's the other option? Tayammum. Why? Because Allah does not overburden any person. If he's not able to do wudu because of illness, therefore, he can do tayammum. Similarly, if a person is unable to pray standing, what is allowed for him? That he can pray sitting. If that is not also possible, then what can he do? Lie down and pray. Similarly, when it comes to zakat, do we have to give 50%? Do we have to get 10%? No, it's only 2.5%, and that is something affordable. So, لا نكلف نفسا إلا وسعها. What does it mean? That the commands that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given, they are doable. They are practical. They are not impossible. So if such people, they have had iman and they have done amalul salih, they have not reached Jannah because they are angels. Or because they did something that is completely impossible. No. It's within your capacity. It's within your ability. Because if it was impossible, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would not have charged you with it. Because generally, what do people say? That I can't do much good because it's just not within my capacity. I'm not that righteous. And when they look at other people, they say, oh, you are you. You have a smart brain and Allah has given you free time and you have the courage and you have the guts. I don't have the guts. I don't have the courage. I don't have the time. We have many excuses. But what does Allah say? No excuses. Because whatever you have been obligated with, it is something that you can do. It is something that is practical. It is something that is doable. أُولَٰئِكَ أَصْحَابُ الْجَنَّةِ هُمْ فِيهَا خَالِدُونَ. So why will they be admitted into Jannah? Because they did whatever they could. They did whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had charged them with. They did whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had charged them with. They did not present excuses. They did not consider themselves to be handicapped. Despite their disabilities, despite their weaknesses, they tried their best. So what do we learn from this ayah? that each person is going to get to Jannah. How? Because of what he has done. And doing those actions is not something impossible. Where is the problem? Where is the difficulty? It's actually in the nafs. It's actually inside us. We consider small tasks to be enormous, to be very big, because of which we deprive ourselves from doing that which is necessary. We look at little things as huge mountains. That's what we do. But what does Allah say? لَا نُكَلِّفُ نَفْسًا إِلَّا وُسْعَهَا. So the problem is inside our nafs. That's what we have to cure. The deen of Allah cannot be changed. We also learn from this ayah that each person is laid with the responsibility that he is capable to perform. Some people, they're given more resources. They're given more blessings. So what does it mean? They're responsible for more. Other people are given less. What does that mean? They're responsible for less. The more a person has, the more responsible he is. Every ability, every kind of wealth, or every kind of talent, or skill, or opportunity that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us, we will be held accountable for it. We will be held accountable for it. So for example, if there's a person who has the internet, on him is the responsibility to use the internet to do what? To serve the deen, to spread the deen, compared to a person who doesn't even have electricity. Isn't it? If you have been given a certain blessing, it's not just so that you can enjoy it. Rather, it is a responsibility. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you something so that you do something. So that you do something. Not just so that you enjoy it in this dunya. Every blessing that a person has been given, it is a responsibility on him.